Looking for singles to finish your deck or collection? CCG Castle has a wide selection of cards at amazing prices. They also have tons of sealed boxes, tins, and packs as well. Use promo code EVO5 to save 5% off your next order.
What's up, guys? En here. Welcome back to Evolutionaries Gaming, and today I am super happy to show you guys my very first Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile of Evolutionaries Gaming, and that's going to be my Shaddoll deck. Now, a few weeks back, you guys might remember me posting a video on the 3 Shaddoll structure decks that were released at Valentine's Day, I believe. And here we are, a little bit later. Got the full deck on me now. It's a pure variant. It's not the more expensive variants like the Shaddoll Invoked, because that is super expensive. But this is a competitive ready, pure Shaddoll list I have here for you guys. So, right here I've got the extra deck, the main deck, and the side deck, which I'm going to be going over all of those with you guys. Plus, I'll show you guys a basic combo at the end. So with that, we're going to get straight into the main deck. First, I'm going to be starting off here with 3 copies of Shaddoll Wendy. This is one of the cards that was introduced to us in the starter deck, and it's just really, really amazing. So she's a level 3 Psychic, Wind, and her flip effect is that you can special summon one Shaddoll monster from your deck in face up or face down position, except herself. But you're not going to use that effect too often. The main effect you're using her for is the other effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you get special summon a Shaddoll monster from your deck in face down defense position. That's going to help us trigger off our main combo of the deck right there. And not to mention, it just opens up so many more possibilities than the deck had before. And we are going to be running 3 copies of Shaddoll Squamata as well. This basically counts as another, it's essentially a free Shaddoll with its effect. Its main effect is that this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect. You can send one Shaddoll from your deck to the graveyard, except itself. So, the main thing with Shaddolls is you want to get their sent to graveyard effects. That's why I say Shaddoll Squamata is basically another copy of any Shaddoll you want. So if you have, say, a Shaddoll Squamata and another Shaddoll, you can go ahead and use a Squamata effect to send Wendy, and then you'll still get the Wendy effect. And so on and so on. Gonna be running 2 copies of Shaddoll Hedgehog. Now what this guy does here is that if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand. And his flip effect is that you can add a Shaddoll spell or trap from your deck to your hand as well. But as I said, the flip effects you're not going to be using too often. I should also mention Squamata's flip effect, as you can target one monster on the field and destroy it. I mean, they are good, don't get me wrong. You do find yourself in times where you will be using their flip effects. It's just, if you're already so ahead in the game, that's not really something you're going to be worrying about. The flip effects are more of a backup plan, in case things don't go exactly your way. Next up here, we're running 2 copies of Shaddoll Beast. When you flip him, you draw 2 cards, then you discard a card. And if he's sent to the graveyard by effect, you draw a card. And essentially, yeah, it's more ways to draw. And in this game, any way to draw, you take. There's not heavy draw options in this game like there is in Pokemon or Dragon Ball. And we have 2 copies here of Shaddoll Falco. This card is sent to the graveyard by effect. You can special summon this card in face down defense position. It's basically recycling itself to use as fusion materials or anything you need. And its flip effect is that you can target any Shaddoll monster in your graveyard except itself and special summon in face down position. So, really, really good. It's essentially another monster reborn for the deck. It is a tuner, but this version, you don't really take advantage of that. Though there are some deck variants out there that do take advantage of the fact that he's a tuner. And once again, here we have Shaddoll Dragon. Not once again, I don't know why I said that. So what he does is that if he's sent to the grave by card effect, you get to pop a spell or trap your opponent has on the field. His flip effect's not too bad either. You bounce one of your opponent's cards to the hand. So very, very nice, because there are quite a few things that can't be destroyed, so if it's bounced to hand, that's really awesome. And our last Shaddoll monster here is going to be the Nail Shaddoll Ariel. Now, we only run 1 in this because if we see her in our opening hand, our combo is severely crippled. And what she does is that when she's sent to the... You actually do use her for a flip effect. Sorry, I got a little mixed up there. Flip effect that you can target one of your banished Shaddoll monsters and special summon in face up or face down defense position. And her graveyard effect is pretty neat too. This card sent to the graveyard, you get to target up to 3 cards in the graveyards, either yours or your opponent's, and banish them. Especially what your opponent's playing, that could severely cripple them. But yeah, this is the one main Shaddoll that we mainly focus for the flip effect. And as I said, I'll show you guys how that combo works. And as I said, that was it for the Shaddoll monsters. Now for the other monsters here, we have 2 copies of Damage Juggler and 2 copies of Performance Trick Clown. Now, Damage Juggler has quite a few effects. During either player's turn, while a card effect is activated that would inflict damage to you, you can discard this card, negate the activation, and destroy that card. So anything that would burn you, you pitch them in and negate. Also, during the battle phase, you can discard this card and reduce the next battle damage you take to 0. So he's all about saving your life points. And he also has another effect. If he's in the graveyard, you can banish him and search for a performance monster except himself. That's going to be the Trick Clown here. And Trick Clown is very, very good. This card's sent to the graveyard by any means. Doesn't matter how it's sent there. It can even be detached as an XCs. As long as it gets to the graveyard, you can special summon this monster from the graveyard. Its attack and defense becomes 0, and you take 1,000 damage. And you can only do it once per turn. But if you say fusion it for one of your fusion monsters, boom, you bring him back. Go straight to a Link monster or an XCs or anything you want, really. He's such an amazing card. And that is going to do it for our monsters. Now for our spells. And as a fusion deck, we are running quite a few spells here. So we're going to be running 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. You get this fusion summon a Shaddoll monster from your extra deck using stuff from your hand or field like any other fusion spell. But what makes this one so special is that if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you could also use monsters from your deck as well. So you don't even have to waste any cards from your hand. Just use things straight from deck and boom, you got yourself a Shaddoll monster. And with all the Shaddoll spells, the fusion ones specifically, all share the effect that you can only use these once per turn. So you can only activate 1 Shaddoll fusion per turn. Same thing with L Shaddoll fusion. You get to fusion summon 1 Shaddoll monster from your extra deck using hand or field. But what makes this one so good is that it's a quick play spell. So if you set it during your opponent's turn, boom, you're gonna go ahead and bring it out, get out of your construct, window, anything you need at the time. And also, once you activate your Shaddoll fusion, it helps to have this here to go ahead and activate another fusion right there. There is also another Shaddoll fusion that exists out there. I believe it's a quick one named Neffy, I believe. That's how you pronounce it. But the fact that it's an equip spell makes it vulnerable to too many things, and that's why I don't run it. But for fusion stuff, we are running 3 copies of Instant Fusion. Now this helps out bring out one of our Shaddolls, specifically Winda, because you pay 1,000 life points, you special summon 1 level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, but it can't attack and is destroyed during the end phase. And yes, this is treated as a fusion summon, so it does count as being summoned correctly. So after that fusion monster is destroyed with this, you can go ahead and reborn it and do whatever you want with it. And we are also going to be running 2 copies of Super Polymerization. I still can't believe Konami decided to give us this card back. It's dumb, but it's necessary at the same time. You discard a card, fusion summon a monster from your extra deck using monsters from either player's field, and your opponent cannot activate anything in response. So basically, they can't negate it, they can't do anything when you activate this. And not many cards are immune to being used as fusion material. So it's a really good way to clear boards. Also going to be running 2 copies of Fusion Recycling Plants and 1 copy of Terraforming to Search It. Once per turn, you discard a card, add a Polymerization from your deck or graveyard to hand. And once per turn during the end phase, you can target 1 monster in your graveyard that was used as a fusion material for a fusion summon this turn and add it to your hand. So it literally does as the name of the card implies. It's a way to keep recycling stuff and get you back your polymerizations. Which, speaking of which, I am running 1 copy of Polymerization here. It's the most basic fusion spell card there is. Fusion from hand or field. Simple as that. I only run 1 because not only does, as I said, not only does it search from deck, but it also gets from graveyard as well. So I feel having multiples for the most part is not really necessary. I did originally play 2, but because of that I was like, maybe I could cut it down to 1. And it really hasn't hurt me since, because I could just always get it back, no matter what. And next up here, we are going to be running 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Very, very good card. You target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated. as well as any cards with that same name. Like, anything with that same name is going to be negated till the end of the next turn. So what this is really used for those of you who don't know, this is used to negate hand traps, which I'll be showing you guys in a bit. But it can be used really to negate anything. There's definitely been some cheeky times where I was like, my opponent had a very powerful card on the field, but they already had one sent to grave, so I used this, and I negated its effects. But, as I said, it's primarily used to stop hand traps. And last up for our spells, we have 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Pot of Avarice, and 1 Foolish Burial. Now, most people should know what Monster Reborn is. You special summon a monster from out of the graveyard. Pot of Avarice, I was kind of surprised that we got this card back recently. You target 5 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 5 to the deck, then draw 2 cards. Now, for those of you who only know Pokemon, the wording with this doesn't work the same. It's not, oh, it's shuffle 5 or as many you possibly have. No, you have to have 5 specifically with this. That's the wording for Yu-Gi-Oh! And Foolish Burial, you send 1 monster from your deck to the graveyard, which that's how all of our Shaddoll's effects activate, so it's essentially a 4th copy of anything we need. And for traps, the only trap I run is the Rush Shaddoll Incarnation. All of its effects are pretty decent. You target 1 Shaddoll monster in your graveyard, special summon in face up or face down defense position, which again, pretty good, but our main use is the other one. You can banish this card and 1 Shaddoll card from your graveyard, then activate one of these effects. You change 1 face down monster you control to face up position, or you can change a face up monster you control to face down defense position. So it essentially lets you flip or set back. And you can only use it once per turn. Alright guys, that takes care of the main deck. Now we're going to go straight to the extra deck. And for that, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Shaddoll Construct. And for those of you Yu-Gi-Oh players out there that are going to be cringing at this, I'm sorry, I don't own any copies of the original artwork. This is just a reprint from the structure deck, and that's the only one I've been able to get my hands on. So, this is an absolute monster. This sets off not only a lot of your combos, but it's also very annoying for your opponent as well. So, if the card's special summon, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to a graveyard, any type of special summon, so it doesn't specifically have to be a fusion summon. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, you destroy that monster. So basically anything that's special summon, boom, destroy it automatically. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why this deck, several years back, I want to say 2013, 2014, was one of the biggest decks out there. I was just barely getting to the game around the end of this format here. So I'm really stoked that I get to actually play in a Shaddoll format again. Because with Shaddolls, Necros, those look really, really fun. And I kind of missed out on it. Like I said, I kind of got in the final days of that and the beginning of Pendulum format. So, and all Shaddoll fusion monsters have this effect to where if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Shaddoll spell or trap in your graveyard, add it to your hand. And that none of this stuff is a once per turn, so that's what makes Shaddoll Construct really, really stupid. Next up here, I've got 2 copies of Shaddoll Winda. Now this is going to be the level 5 that we can get off from Instant Fusion. And she's also a monster. Honestly, I've been going back and forth between 2 and 3. I might bump her up back to 3. I'm not fully sure yet. So she can be destroyed by card effects, that's really awesome, and each player can only special summon monsters once per turn while this card is face up on the field. And like just about every deck requires multiple special summons per turn, so if you have this out, it's really, really difficult for your opponent to deal with. Matter of fact, some decks out there can't even really deal with this at all, at least in their main deck. Side decks, a whole completely different story. But yeah, a lot of decks will just be completely shut down by this. And with the combo I'm going to show you guys, you have a way to protect this window even more. And next up here is going to be the El Shaddoll Cologne. I believe is the correct pronunciation, but everyone's calling her Al Capone. Makes a lot of sense. It looks similar, not to mention this came out on Valentine's Day. So, perfect. And honestly, this is one I underestimated at first, but she's actually really, really good. So she requires 2 Shaddoll monsters with different attributes. That should have been something I mentioned first, I'm sorry. So for the Winda here requires a Shaddoll monster and a Dark monster. Your El Shaddoll Construct here requires a Shaddoll monster and a Light monster. I am terribly sorry guys, that should have been the first thing I mentioned. She cannot be destroyed by battle, so that's really neat. And you can use each of her effects once per turn, and they're right here in the black dots. If this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up card on the field and negate its effects. So that's a permanent effect negation right there. So if your opponent has their boss monster out and you bring this out, boom, its effects are permanently negated just by summoning her. And her other effect is that this card is sent to the graveyard. You can add one Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, then you discard a card. So this one is a little bit different than theirs because she can also search the deck, but you end up discarding a card as well. And honestly, if you end up discarding a Shaddoll card, that's great because it counts as being sent by card effect, and you're able to activate that effect as well. So depending, it doesn't even really feel like you're minusing a card at all with her. So that's a very good card. Definitely was underestimated at first, but she is actually very powerful. And last up here for my Shaddoll fusion monsters, I'm going to be running one copy of El Shaddoll Shikanaga. She requires Shaddoll and an Earth. This one is, I have a love-hate with this one. Like, it really comes in handy when it does, but I don't make this one very often. If you wanted to replace this with the third window, you absolutely could. It's definitely nothing to cry over there. But she can come in handy. When a special summon monster activates effect while you have a Shaddoll card in your hand, and it does count as a quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do destroy that monster, then you send a Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard. You can only use it once per turn, and she does have the same recurring effect as Winda and Construct, where she can add a Shaddoll spell or trap from deck to grave. From graveyard to hand. Sorry about that. So yeah, she's also a monster negate. That's the biggest thing with her. Which, as I said, it does come in handy. Not to mention her stats are pretty high. 26 attack and 3,000 defense. It's a pretty good card to sit on if you're not able to do very much. But as I said, she's not absolutely necessary. So if you want to take her out, that's perfectly fine. That does it for the fusions, guys. We're going to go straight to our Link monsters now. We are going to be running one copy of Cross Sheep. Now, this card is really amazing. It basically is the centerpiece of our entire combo. So it requires just two monsters with different names, so it's extremely easy to make. If a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can apply the following effects in sequence based on the card type that's special summoned there. So as one for rituals, fusions, synchros, and XCs, but we're only going to be worried about the fusion because we don't run anything else in our deck. If a fusion monster is special summoned to a zone it points to, you get to special summon one level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. And that really just helps us get with our combos here. As I said, the other effects you don't have to worry about if you're playing this deck. Now, Cross Sheep, as I said, it does have effects based on other stuff as well. So this is by far from its only use. Gonna be running one copy of Shaddoll Construct. Just requires two flip monsters, which that's all your main deck Shaddoll monsters. And during your main phase, you could fusion summon a Shaddoll fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, along with this card here. If this face-up card in your graveyard is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Shaddoll from your hand or face-up to the field. If you do, special summon a card. So she has a way of recycling herself on top of that, even when she's fusion summoned. So she really does come in handy. Also be running one copy of Barricade Borg Blocker. I always get tongue-tied with this one. This one just requires two monsters with different names, same thing with Cross Sheep, very easy to make. We're not really worried about its effect because it says that if it's linked summon, you discard a card, and during the end phase, you can add a continuous or field spell from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, you can use it to get back your fusion recycling plants, but really this is just so we have another link too. And next up here we got our big links here. We've got our Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, and we've got our Borosaur Dragon. Now, Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax requires two monsters, at least two monsters, special summon from the extra deck. And while this link summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters for attacks, except for this one. And that gets really nasty here. Once per battle, during damage calculation, this card battles a special summon monster. You get to make this card gain that attack equal to the opponent's monster during that damage calculation. This link summon monster you control is sent to the graveyard by card effect. you could shuffle one card on the field to the deck. So it has a lot of uses to it. So with that wording, basically, unless its effects are negated, nothing can overrun this. Even Borosword, which is known for overrunning any battle card, cannot overrun. Sorry guys, that's my dog. He was being so good up until now. So, and I said battle card, I'm thinking DBS, but no. Most monsters cannot overrun an Avermax, not even Borosword, which that's basically what this card's purpose is to overrun any monster. And what this guy does is he just requires at least 3 effect monsters. To be link summoned, he can't be destroyed by battle, and once per turn, you get to target one attack position monster, change his defense position. Also, this card can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. He's basically a OTK guy right there. And your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Once per turn, when this card declares an attack on a face-up monster, you can activate this effect. Until the end of this turn, this card gains attack equal to half that monster's current attack, and if it does, the monster's current attack is halved. So, it's pretty much your combo here to go for game, which I'll be happy to show you guys that combo as well. And that does it for our Link monsters. We got our 2 XCs here. We have Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, and we have Abyss Dweller. This guy here, what he does is during the standby phase, you detach material from this card. If you can't, he's destroyed. If it's in an attack position, it can't be destroyed by opponent's card effects, and your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. While it's in face-up defense position, you change all face-up monsters on the field to defense position, and you also negate activate effects of monsters that were in defense position when that effect was activated. So basically, unless you're going up against Link monsters, he negates stuff on the field and changes them all to defense position. Because for my Pokemon fans out there that don't know Yu-Gi-Oh very much, Link monsters cannot be in defense position. They only have attack stats here, as you can see. They don't have any defense stats at all, so it's completely impossible. Alright, that does it for the extra deck. Now we're going to go straight to our side deck. And first up here, guys, I am running 3 different fusion monsters here. These are more instant fusion targets here. We have Salamangreat, Violet Chimera, Starring Venom Fusion Dragon, and World Chalice Guard Dragon Almaduke, if that's how you pronounce it. So this one requires a Salamangreat monster and a Link monster. This one just requires 2 dark monsters on the field, except for tokens. And this requires 3 Link monsters. So obviously this one is for the Salamangreat matchup. This one here can be used for many things. It can be used for the Mirror matchup. It could be used for an Orcus matchup. There's just so much dark out there that he's super easy to make. And this guy right here is for the Spiral matchup, because that whole deck revolves around just spamming the board with Link monsters and just getting so much bonuses and negates off that. But you go ahead, Super Poly, get rid of 3 of those, and boom, you're in the clear to do what you need to do. Also going to be running 3 copies here of Twin Twisters, just some back row removal. You pitch a card, then you get to target 2 spells and traps your opponent controls and destroy them. And we are running hand traps in the deck here. We are going to be running 3 copies of Drolan Lockbird. When your opponent adds a card from deck to hand, except during draw phase, you pitch him, and then your opponent cannot add cards to their hand for the rest of the turn. Now this can be absolutely brutal against so many decks out there. And for hand traps, we are also going to be running 3 copies of DD Crow. You discard him, you target a card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And depending on what you're going up against, this is absolutely brutal. Even in the mirror match of Shaddolls can be really just devastating if you hit the right card. And for my last 3 cards, we are citing 1 more copy of Super Polymerization, just in case we find ourselves in matchups to where we really need to break that board. We've got an extra copy of it, and we are running 2 copies of Performance Hat Trigger in our side as well. Now, this guy right here, if 2 or more monsters on the field, you can get to special summon him from your hand. And he has another effect that a lot of people, including myself, forget about. During either player's turn, when a card effect is activated that will inflict damage to you, you can place a performance counter onto this guy. He can only have 3 maximum. Then you can make that effect damage 0. And when a 3rd counter is placed on this card, his attack and defense become 3,300. That's one that really doesn't come up too often. But something neat you can do with that is, say if you already have the Hat Tricker out and you try to go for the Perform Mage Trick Clown, you won't take the 1000 damage, he'll just get an encounter instead. But anything that burns you is not going to be affected by this whatsoever. Alright guys, that does it for all 3 deck profiles. I'll go ahead and show you guys a basic combo now. Okay guys, so I'm going to be showing you here the basic combo to do for Shaddolls going first. You need Shaddoll Wendy, Shaddoll Fusion, Performance Damage Juggler, and this could be any dark monster. In this case I have Beast, but any of your dark Shaddoll monsters will do the trick. And it does not have to be these specific 3 cards either. You could either have El Shaddoll Fusion, Shaddoll Squamata, and Performance Trick Clown. Out of the 3 columns I have here, if you have at least one of each of these in any combination, you have the combo right there. So it's not a specific 4-card combo. It does seem like a lot, but it could be so many different 4 cards. And as I said, this could be any of your dark monsters whatsoever. So we're gonna go ahead and activate Shaddoll Fusion, setting our Shaddoll Wendy and Damage Juggler to our graveyard here. Actually, let me go ahead and put my field center there. We're gonna use Tinchino for field centers. And this rate, gonna go for our El Shaddoll Construct. And now we get to activate our Shaddoll Wendy and our El Shaddoll Construct. And Construct is gonna send us our Incarnation. Wendy is going to special summon in face down defense our Shaddoll Aerial. So that's going to be a defense position there. We could use our Damage Juggler, banish himself, to search for our Trick Clown. We'll go ahead, normal summon a Trick Clown. Go ahead and link summon right into our Crush Sheep. Trick Clown special summon himself. El Shaddoll Construct's gonna get something back. It's gonna get back our Shaddoll Fusion. We're going to banish. We're gonna use Shaddoll Incarnation to banish itself and El Shaddoll Construct, flipping up our Aerial. Aerial effect is going to allow us to special summon the El Shaddoll Construct to a zone he's pointing to, and then Cross Shape effect will activate. We get to special summon a level 4 lower from grave, and that's exactly what we'll do. No, actually, no, I want to special summon her right here. We're gonna special summon the Shaddoll Wendy. Construct effect will activate again. We can send something else from deck to grave, and we're going to be sending our El Shaddoll Fusion to our graveyard there. And we do have a couple of options we can do. We can either... Actually, no, I do believe I know what I'm going to do here. I'm just trying to figure out which order I want to show this to you guys in. Is the big thing here. We're going to go ahead and link away these two, the Shaddoll Construct and the Wendy. And we're going to make with that our barricade board blocker. Our El Shaddoll Construct effect activates. We're going to go ahead and add the El Shaddoll Fusion back from grave to hand. And we do still have the one dark monster here. So we do have the window. That's not going to be an issue whatsoever. And with that, there's a couple things here we got. We can go ahead and link these away for our Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. And we can use El Shaddoll Fusion to send the, in this case, Shaddoll Beast, the Dark Monster, and a Shaddoll Monster for a window. And then the Beast will allow us to draw a card, doesn't really matter what it is. And now you have a lock to where your opponent can only special summon once per turn. This can't be destroyed by card effects, and you already have a Mech Knight Crusadia on the board there, so they can't even try to overrun her. They have to attack in the Crusadia Avermax, and unless his skills are negated, that's completely impossible. So pretty much the only way to really add this is a Kaiju, which not everyone main decks a Kaiju. But there are other things we can do here. Send that back. Shaddoll Beast. We wanted to take it back a couple steps. We got our Cross Shape Barricade board. Got our El Shaddoll Construct. Actually, no, we did not have a barricade board here. we had our Wendy here. So, as I said, there was that you can do. If you really want to, you can go into an Xyz play here for... You got your Abyss Dweller and your Baguska. Depending on the situation, you could go for one of these. If it's a mirror match or something that revolves heavily around Grave, you can go Abyss Dweller. Then you'd be able to... What would I want to link away? Yeah, what you could do is you can link these two away. For Barricade Board, you can use the El Shaddoll Construct because we did send the El Shaddoll Fusion. That part did still happen. We get to add that back to our hand. And from there, we can El Shaddoll Fusion away to 2 Dark Monsters for a Winda. So not only do you have the Winda, you also have the Abyss Dweller to stop stuff from activating Grave. So there's lots of things you can do there. And that about does it for the basic combo here of going first. And going second, there's just so many different things you could do with this deck. There's infinite amount of combos for that. If you guys want in a future video, I can show you guys every single combo that there could be with this particular deck. But I just want to show you guys the basic thing you could do going first. And with that, guys, if you enjoyed this deck profile, be sure to smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, like and comment down below. And with that, guys, I hope you all have a fantastic day.